What up? I'm Josh Paulison, and welcome to Your Story Now. So today we are going to look at how we can continue developing out our story. Here's the problem. When we have our character developing, we need to have some way to show that they truly have developed. Because we don't want to have the story end and for the audience to go, well, we don't really believe that the main character would overcome their feelings of being a failure, or we didn't really show that. So how do we show that the main character has in fact overcome their feelings of being a failure? This is where our next brainstorming technique comes in. We are going to look at opposites. So let's consider the opposite of feeling like a failure. What would be an opposite of that? You could say arrogance. And I'm talking like, I know that you might say, well, the opposite of feeling like a failure is confidence, and that's also legitimate. If we want to go to the far extreme though, then we might say that arrogance is more so an opposite. Both of these are legitimate. It kind of depends on where we want to take our story. Why do we want to find the opposite of feeling like a failure? Well, if the main character is in fact going to overcome their feelings of being a failure, they need to move to the opposite of feeling like a failure. And we have a few opportunities here. We could say that, well, we have them become arrogant, and maybe then they balance out later. Or we could say, well, the character becomes confident. Whether that's after arrogant, or maybe they change from feeling like a failure to confident. Alternatively, we could say, well, let's have our villain's issue be that they are arrogant. Let's make this our villain. Let's make our villain be the opposite of the main character. So let's go back over here. So they realize how strong their anxiety is. And then we can have blank. We could say blank becomes confident. And that right there is a really cool piece, because we say, okay, this is the healthy resolution. This is the healthy response. But let's say that we really like this villain idea. If we really like this villain idea, what we can do is say, okay, well, as part of them becoming confident, they end up defeating the arrogant villain. But of course, if we just say they defeat the arrogant villain, that's not that exciting. It's really more about overcoming the arrogant villain's lies. In fact, maybe in our story, and this is where these brainstorming pieces end up tying together, if we have an opposite coming against the hero, arrogant villain's lies, okay, how long have they known the arrogant villain? What if the arrogant villain is the reason that they feel like a failure in the first place? And I'm not saying that we're not responsible for our own emotions, we are, but perhaps the villain ended up beating down the main character so badly that they took it in and it really wreaked havoc on their life. And we could put this back over here. And that could be that the main character, and I'm just using a blank for the main character, we haven't determined anything about the main character. The main character ends up like feeling horrible about themselves. So we need them to feel like a failure before we can have them recover from feeling like a failure. So it could be, then if we're tying this in again, villain comes against blank, berating them. Now I'm going to stop here for now, but what the opposite technique has given us is a villain for the main story, and has also helped us see where we want the main character to go. This is the power behind the opposite technique for brainstorming in stories.